So I hope we're doing good today. We're out in our, what do we call it, cover crop field. To be honest, this one is probably our slowest field so far this year. So this is gonna be like the shortest corn we have. It looks good, but it's just kind of the slowest we got going, and I don't know if you can attribute that to some of this cover crop or what. We did come in here and spray it once already when we burned it down. As you can still see, some of them kind of got escaped. There's still a little bit of wheat left in the field. We sprayed this a second time, so it'll be killing this here shortly. As you can see, there's already some herbicide activity working on it already. It's starting to die, so hopefully the rest of this will die and be a pretty clean field. So yeah, what we're doing is this pivot's running. As you can see, it's wet, black in between the row. That's helping to activate that herbicide, kind of like I was talking about yesterday. But as you can see, one of the issues you're always going to have with pivots is you usually still have pivot corners that don't get watered. So they'll typically, if we don't get a rain here in the next week or so, it'll probably have a little bit more weed pressure. I don't know if it'll have enough to warrant coming back after and hitting it again. Just depends. Sometimes your borders will, because you always get more pressure along your ends just because that's where they come into the field, and you always get the most escapes typically on the border because corn's usually a little bit thinner from turning around on some things and compaction, stuff like that. So this is how this is working out. We no-tilled right directly into the rye this year, or wheat, excuse me. It's typically rye, but this year we used wheat. And so we're gonna see how this all works out. It doesn't look bad, but I mean, it's definitely our slowest field. Where are we at here? We're about the yay high. So let's go check the well. What I'm gonna do, since it may be, works better to point with the sun. I just checked the dripper, the oil dripper that lubricates the well that goes down into the ground, and make sure the oil level's okay on the engine. And that's all I need to do. Usually do that once a day for those of you new to the channel when we're irrigating. It's a beautiful morning. Changed the oil in this yesterday, so hopefully it's still good. Trying to do as much as I can before I gotta go do my thing. So to kind of catch you up, since I kind of went MIA there for a while during planting, I'll get a little further away from the well. It's still kind of loud. They're just straight pipes on them. Oh, it looks okay, just shorter than the rest of the corn. But something that happened this spring on this field is we wanted to kill it at least about a week earlier, but we were having a problem with our sprayer. Our sprayer started malfunctioning and they couldn't quite figure it out why. Got mud on me. And they were having issues, so it got sprayed a week later. I think it was about a week, maybe it was a little more than what we wanted it to be. So that could be a little bit of the attributing factor. That's kind of one of the issues you can have with cover crops, is timing of them. The planting and the termination of them is something that's kind of key. So that's why it might not be something that's quite broad acre yet. It's just because the timing of things can be critical, because you get too late and you can start to compete with that corn crop. Just the different things that can happen in the soil. If you're kind of wondering why every farmer doesn't cover crop everything all the time, it's a lot of maintenance, or it's more maintenance, I should say. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just one of those things you gotta kind of plan ahead on and make sure you're set up to do. And issues like, just a sprayer going down could be something that can happen. So that's something to think about if you're choosing to go to cover crops or about the whole cover crops issue. But there's also benefits to cover crop, like erosion and things like that. So that's kind of why we're doing it on this field, is we farm kind of in the hills, just kind of experimenting with things and things like that. I haven't gotten this dirty since ever. Show you guys one of our, maybe our little nicer pivots. As you can see, this one's got a little bit more height to it. It's actually I'd call it knee high. For June 9th, that ain't bad. So what helps this field compared to that other field is this is old soybean ground, meaning it was soybeans last year. Also, we had our neighbors got a hog building just kind of over there, and it had the effluent pumped on it this year. And so it's got hog manure on it, which is really good. Also, we strip tilled it a little bit just to kind of even out. I don't know if you remember in one of my old videos where I was strip tilling, I was kind of mentioning it just to kind of make sure it was smoothed out and even out, and it's really paying out good. We even put just a little bit more nitrogen just to make sure all the cracks were filled in, just in case if they had any issues with their machine, because sometimes they'll never tell you. But yeah, it's looking really good right now. Looks like we're getting good weed control. My brother would have sprayed this probably a little over, probably 5 days ago or so. I can't remember, but it's looking really good. Got really deep green color, and it's really taken off with this heat. We got some chances of rain, not maybe today, but I know we got a decent chance coming up tomorrow night, I believe, and that would really make things pop and grow and keep them moist and rolling. Well, not curling up like it's dry, but rolling up. You know what I mean. Rolling in the good way. I gave the wife the silver pickup because that's the one she wanted, because we got rid of our family vehicle because it wasn't big enough for 2 car seats in the back, and these had more space, and yeah, just. But I went with the Trail Boss mainly because it's kind of farm set up. It's got an extra couple inches underneath of it, and I don't, because I usually lift the pickups that I get. This one I didn't have to. Man, that grass is tall. And it also comes with a little more aggressive tires that are light truck rated. Believe me, my father-in-law will hate it. He's a chrome guy. Not much chrome on these. I like them all. Hey, as long as it works, right? Them old guys and their chrome. It's like John's getting set up. I think he's gonna go spray some borders. He had a couple questions. I updated this before the planting season, just so you know. So I've had it for a little while yet. So something that's kind of out of the ordinary for us this year. My dad has cattle, and so do my brother, and so they have some drylands patches that have alfalfa on it, but we acquired a pivot that previously had alfalfa. Something's rattling back there. Alfalfa on it, and so we left it this year because coming into the year, it was fairly dry and corn prices haven't quite taken off yet, so we kind of made the decision to leave it to alfalfa this year. We're gonna head out. They already put it up, and I believe my nephew's out there forking off the bales, meaning they're kind of organizing them to pick them up later. At a later date, they'll come and get them and take them off the field. But he's just kind of putting them in bunches, I believe, or organizing them. So let's go check that out. Now I take it back. They're actually baling and putting up the hay. Or they're putting up the hay, baling it, and I believe that's what he was talking about when Isaac's gonna be forking off the bales. So sometimes on our farm it's need to know basis only, and I'm usually the last. Let's go get some footage of that. that smell. I used to do a lot of this putting up hay when I was a kid. We had a, for those of you know, machinery, we had a New Holland 499 hay bind. It was a lot slower than what they have now, but I still remember that smell. For those of you know, you can smell this. The goal is to put it up when it's dry enough, but yet you don't want it too dry that the leaves don't blow off. That's about as much as I know. Some of you out there are probably a little bit more in tune with hay. These are kind of the bales you want. You want it nice and tight. Man, it smells good. Net wrapped. Reason why for a lot of net wrap nowadays is it's faster, especially when you got a lot of bales like this. Back in, when I did most of it, we used string, which probably was 10 times longer when you're wrapping the bale. Another thing I noticed too is that you might be asking a question on is, why is there still like circles of strips of alfalfa still left out there? Well, it's because there's pivot tracks, and the swather guy just tries to avoid any of that stuff. So instead of driving over them and banging around, it's easier to go in a circle. That's typically how a lot of alfalfa is done on our pivots. Some have gone north and south, but I think Isaac is coming out later, my brother's boy. He's gonna start forking these off because he'll have a couple to fork off, as you can see. So I think I'm gonna wind down the video here, and just before I go, I kind of wanted to make a mention. Many of you well know there's another YouTube channel, farming channel, called Larson Farms, and I just want to think of them right now as, I don't know them very well at all, but I just kind of seen recently that Chet's wife passed away, and they're not very old at all. They're pretty young, and so just keep them in prayers, and yeah, just lift up the Larson family right now. That's got to be a very tough time for them. Also, this will probably be the last video. This will be the last video before my surgery that's coming up at the end of this week. Well, first off, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. I've never expected the support I've gotten from you guys, and I really appreciate it, especially in all the comments and reaching out on social media and other ways, email. Just, it's really humbling, and I really, 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 really appreciate it. And just before I go, if you ever find more time, just say another prayer, because it doesn't hurt. And yeah, just lift up my family, especially my brothers that are stepping up over these next, depending on how long it takes me to recover and stuff like that. I'd really appreciate them stepping up, filling in. That's one awesome thing about having a family farm and being able to farm with others in your family, is just that support group. So I can't be thankful enough for that. Also, just my wife and kids, and just the time it'll be having to deal with me. Yep, we'll be going into that. I just want to really say I appreciate you guys a lot. I don't know what it'll look like coming up here for video wise, just being in the hospital. I'll try to keep you as updated as best I can. I just don't know what it'll look like. So guys, we'll hopefully see you soon, Lord willing, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.